Hello everyone, Ramadan Kareem. I'm Maisara and this is my channel where I translate, explain and share Arabic poems with the world. If you're interested, please like, share and subscribe. Today's poem is الحنين by Mahmoud Darwish. Mahmoud Darwish is by far the most popular Palestinian poet, born in 1941, died in 2008. And let's just say that all Arabs have and had lived politically intense eras, including myself. So just bear that in mind unless I happily state otherwise. He's also known for his recitation, so I will link his recitation of this poem in the description box. And now let's get started with the poem. So the title of the poem, which is الحنين, it doesn't really have a literal translation, at least in English. But let's say that it's nostalgia or longing. Homesickness is also حنين. But when I dug deeper into the word's family tree in Arabic, I found that one of its cousins is انحناء, which is the word that means leaning. So let's just say that حنين is an emotional leaning towards things that are out of reach. Arabic is beautiful. So the poem starts with الحنين استرجاع للفصل الأجمل في الحكاية. Nostalgia is recalling the sweetest chapter of the story. الفصل الأول المرتجل بكفاءة البديهة. The first chapter improvised spontaneously by your intuition. هكذا يولد الحنين من كل حادثة جميلة. And that's how nostalgia is born from every beautiful incident. ولا يولد من جرح. And it's never born from a wound. فليس الحنين ذكرى, because nostalgia is not a memory. بل هو ما تنتقي من متحف الذاكرة. It's what you select from the memories museum. الحنين انتقائي كبستاني ماهر. Nostalgia is picky like a skilled gardener. وهو تكرار للذكرى وقد صفيت من الشوائب. And it's replaying the memory purified from impurities. وللحنين أعراض جانبية من بينها إدمان الخيال النظر إلى الوراء. And nostalgia has side effects including attachment to the past. والحرج من رفع الكلفة مع الممكن. And being too shy to get familiar with the possible. So what he means by this line is that when you're so nostalgic and you're so in the past and you're so into the memories, you get so busy with what happened and you don't really focus on what could happen. You don't focus on moving on. You don't focus on your life, your future. And something you will notice that this poem is really well connected. So one line will lead to the other, and there may be some lines that you will not understand until you move on to the next line. So here the following line says, والإفراط في تحويل الحاضر إلى ماضٍ, and excessively turning the present into past. حتى في الحب, even when in love. تعالي معي لنصنع الليلة ماضيا مشتركا, يقول المريض بالحنين. Join me tonight to share a past, says him, the nostalgic. سآتي معك لنصنع غدا مشتركا, تقول المصابة بالحب. I will join you so we share a future, says her in love. هي لا تحب الماضي وتريد نسيان الحرب التي انتهت. She hates the past and she wants to forget the war that ended. وهو يخاف الغد لأن الحرب لم تنتهي ولأنه لا يريد أن يكبر أكثر. And he is afraid of tomorrow because the war never ended. And because he doesn't want to get older. الحنين ندبة في القلب. Nostalgia is a scar in the heart. وبصمة بلد على الجسد. And a country's print on your body. It's referring to homesickness because, as we mentioned, it's the same word. So it's like that you have your country's print over you, physically over you. And if you think about it, it actually makes sense because most of the times you can tell where someone could be from their looks. So it's sort of reasonable that yes, you have your country's print or fingerprint on you. لكن لا أحدا يحن إلى جرحه. But no one longs for his wound. لا أحد يحن إلى وجع أو كابوس. No one longs for a pain or a nightmare. بل يحن إلى ما قبله. But one longs for what's before that. إلى زمن لا ألم فيه سوى ألم الملذات الأولى. For a time with no pain but first pleasures. التي تذوب الوقت كقطعة سكر في فنجان شاي. pleasures that melt time, like a sugar cube in a cup of tea. Actually, something that Einstein said, which is, that time doesn't really feel the same. So he agrees that, yes, when you're having a pleasure, when you're having a good time, a pleasing time, time just melts like sugar in a hot cup of tea. إلى زمن فردوسي الصورة. Longing for a time in paradise. والحنين نداء الناي للناي. And nostalgia is a flute calling the other. This line will make more sense with the following line, which says لترميم الجهة التي كسرتها حوافر الخيل في حملة عسكرية. To repair the part that was broken by horses during a military campaign. So when I was checking how flutes are made, it says that they make holes, so they basically break this tube and then they make these holes, and that's how they sound like the flute that we know. So here it says that this flute, it was not broken by a musician that is trying to make music. It was broken by military horses. So it's not really sounding like it should. It doesn't sound like a proper flute. It sounds like it's calling for help to fix the damage that is making it not sound like a proper flute. هو المرض المتقطع الذي لا يعدي ولا يميت. It's the occasional disease that is neither contagious nor deadly. حتى لو اتخذ شكل الوباء الجمعي, even if it spreads like a pandemic. هو دعوة للسهر مع الوحيد. It's an invitation to a lonely evening. وذريعة العجز عن المساواة مع ركاب قطار يعرفون عناوينهم جيدا. And the reason not to feel equal to train passengers who remember their addresses. It's again referring to homesickness, that when you're not home, you don't really memorize your address the same way you would do at home. So you would feel a stranger to these people who know where their home is. وهو ما يجمع لأحلام الغرباء من مواد مصنوعة من شفافية اللاشيء الجميل. And it makes up the stranger's dreams made of the charming void or the charming nothingness. He is trying to say that nostalgia, it shapes some sort of dreams for strangers. By strangers, he's referring to the Arabic word that, again, doesn't really have a literal translation in English, and it's for the people who are where they don't belong, the people who are away from home. So he says that these people, they have their dreams made of nostalgia. And these dreams, they are just not made of reality. They are just made of beautiful dreams. Just anything that would just make them feel good, but even if it doesn't really have a solid base. ونادرا ما يأتي صباحا. And rarely it comes in the morning. ونادرا ما يتدخل في حديث عابر مع سائق تاكسي. And rarely does it interfere with a small talk with a taxi driver. ونادرا ما يتطفل على قاعة مؤتمر, and rarely intrudes on a meeting room, أو على الموعد الأول بين ذكر وأنثى, or on a first date between a man and a woman. هو زائر المساء. It's a night visitor, nostalgia. حين تبحث عن أثارك فيما حولك ولا تجدها. When you look for yourself around you but you don't find it. It's also related to homesickness. So he literally says, when you look for your traces on what you have around you and you don't find them. And your traces, it means your culture, it means the objects or the gifts you received from your home country, and you have none of these around you. حين يحط على الشرفة دوري يبدو لك أنه رسالة. When a sparrow lands on your window, like a letter. From بلد لم تحبه وأنت فيه كما تحبه الآن وهو فيك. From a country that you didn't love when you were in it as much as you love it now when it's in you. كان معطا وشجرة. It was a gift and a tree. And here I need to mention a reference for this tree thing. Because there is another poem by Mahmoud Darwish, and he says ولدت إلى جانب البئر وشجرات الثلاث. I was born next to the well and the three trees. So probably he's referring to that personal childhood memory that he has. That home for him is the tree and the gift, the natural water. The poem I'm mentioning, it's Laib Nerd, the dice player. وصار عناوين روح وفكرة وجمرة في اللغة. That home, it was the tree and the water, and it turned into a soul and a thought and a coal burning your tongue. He literally said a burning coal in the language. He means that just talking about it, it burns you. To mention the country or to talk about your memories or to talk about where you're from, it just feels burning. كان هواء وترابا وماء وصار إلى قصيدة. That home, it was air, sand and water, and it turned into a poem. الحنين أنين الحق العاجز عن الإتيان بالبرهان. Nostalgia is the groaning of truth unable to provide proof. Let's connect it to the following line. على قوة الحق أمام حق القوة المتمادية. To prove its rightfulness in front of the ever-increasing power. The meaning is that nostalgia is the right thing or the truth, unable to prove its truthness because it's not powerful enough or because it's not strong enough. Because it's a world of power. So if you have the power, you're right. If you don't have the power, it doesn't really matter how true you are. أنين البيوت المدفونة تحت المستعمرات. The groaning of houses buried under the colonies. يورثه الغائب للغائب والحاضر للغائب. Passed on, nostalgia. It's passed on from one departed to another and from a resident to a departed. So this nostalgia, it's passed on even among the people who are no longer at home, even the people who leave their home country. They still have this nostalgia and they still pass it on to the generations that might have not visited that home or might not share the same thoughts or the same image that their parents would have. And it's passed from the resident, the person who's still at their home, to the departed, because they're giving them more reason to feel nostalgic, not just for the home, but also for their family that they left behind. مع قطرة الحليب الأولى في المهاجر والمخيمات. It's passed on with the first drop of milk in the expatriates and refugee camps. So it's like that nostalgia is breastfed by these people who left their homes. الحنين صوت الحرير الصاعد من التوت. Nostalgia is the sound of silk coming out of the berries. The silk is actually made by a certain moth that feeds on the berry leaves. So basically, silk is another form of berry, and they would feel nostalgic to each other. So a berry could sound like silk in a way because it's another form of it. هو اندماج الغريزة بالوعي واللاوعي. It's the fusion of instinct with conscious and subconscious. وشكوى الزمن المفقود من سادية الحاضر. And the complaint of the past from the distant present. الحنين وجع لا يحن إلى وجع. Longing is a pain that doesn't long for pain. هو الوجع الذي يسببه الهواء النقي القادم من أعالي جبل بعيد. It's the pain caused by the fresh air coming from the heights of a distant mountain. وجع البحث عن فرح سابق. The pain of looking for a past joy. لكنه وجع من نوع صحي. But it's a healthy kind of pain. لأنه يذكرنا بأن مرضى بالأمل وعاطفيون. Because it reminds us that hope and emotions are our sickness. And I also want to mention a reference for this line. So in another poem he says عاطفيون بلا قصد غنائيون عن قصد ولكننا نسينا كلمات الأغنية العاطفية. He says we are unintentionally emotional and intentionally lyrical, but we just forgot our emotional lyrics. And I think it's actually interesting to see that he has this idea and he expresses them in different poems in different ways. So that was the poem for today. Thank you for watching and see you next time.